One of the worst mistakes that applicants make is not to ask questions during their interviews. You need to remember, interviewing is a two-way street. You have something of value to them, and they have something of value to you, and each of you needs to know whether or not this is a good decision. That means you need to ask good questions. Good questions demonstrate that you really find it important enough to really consider this organization effectively because it's your career. They also show the hiring organization that you're well prepared and what kind of values you attach to your career and your ability to do your work well. So what's a good question? A good question is not, tell me about the vacation plan. A good question is one that helps you make a good decision. So some examples of a good question are questions that help you to learn more about the opportunity, about the organization, and questions that help you to understand whether or not you can work with this hiring manager in this department, in this division, and be effective and succeed. Because that's the important question for you. Is this a place where you can really do a job and do it well and be effective and succeed? What should you be asking? You might want to be sure that you are asking the person you're going to work for, the hiring manager, what their performance expectations are. What do they see as defining success in your first 3 months or 6 months in the job? You want to ask them then follow-up questions about how that performance will be defined, how they will know whether or not you've done their work well. You might want to ask them what the major obstacles are going to be to getting that job done in that time frame. You should ask probably about the role of this job as it relates to the larger department or division, and as it relates at the higher levels to the organization's overall strategy. You want to talk about what kinds of things top talent does in their organization. Ask those questions. How do they differentiate top talent? What does a top talent person look like to them? What makes them different than everybody else? That'll tell you if you have the skills to succeed in the organization. It'll also tell you a lot about the culture of the organization and whether or not it's a place you want to work. Then you want to talk about things that might be important in an immediate sense. How does the manager manage? So you might want to ask what the manager's style is in terms of how he likes to work with people. What kinds of people really are most successful working with him. You might want to ask about education and development opportunities that the organization in fact offers. Perhaps you'll want to know why the last person left this job and whether or not then did they get promoted? Did they move to another good job in the organization? Did they leave? All of these types of questions should also be continually asked throughout the process. So you're not just asking the hiring manager, you're asking everyone you talk to some of these questions. And you also want to be sure that you ask questions that demonstrate that you've done your homework, that you've done the research on the organization. So if you know that they are developing a new service or a new product, you want to ask a question about how that relates to the role that you're going to be playing. You want to ask about a growth plan that you've read about in the newspaper, online, wherever you've seen it in a trade journal. And you want to talk to them about what the challenges are that they see in the business. You want to know who their competitors are so that you can ask them in comparison to those competitors, how do they see themselves doing? These questions all offer you an opportunity to learn more about whether you can succeed in this organization. but they also demonstrate to the hiring manager and to everyone else with whom you interview that you are a dedicated professional, that you are someone who knows what they want, and that you are a top quality person. When you do get through a lot of the interviews, when you're back for the second or third time, sure, then you can ask the HR person about a benefits question if they're really important to you. Although, frankly, it's usually better to wait for those until such time as you've gotten an offer. But don't make the mistake so many people do of just focusing on that type of trivia. Focus instead on the questions that will allow you to make a good decision about the organization, the questions that will demonstrate your value. If you do that in an interview, you set yourself apart from way too many people who just kind of come to an interview and don't act like they really necessarily know a lot about what's going on, or are come across as so passive that no really good hiring manager is thinking, wow, I got somebody here I really need to hire. So those are the ways that you make a great difference to your future by asking great questions during every interview.